It's recording. Awesome. So before I start my presentation, thank you everyone for coming. I think this is a very special moment because my mom and dad are here, even my granny, and I would say that they have seen me presenting, but now at this level when I'm working, I think this is the first time they are seeing me presenting, so very happy, and thank you everyone for coming on this hot, humid Wednesday evening and listening to my data analytics in using R. Before I kickstart my presentation, this will be like a series of presentation. The first one would be pretty much basic, more like an exploratory data analysis. Slowly, steadily, I will go with the intermediate level and the advanced level. So yeah, before I go ahead, I would like to, there's a poll, so if you can, I hope you can see that. If not, you can join the poll using the text or maybe the link. And just, who do you think will win the NBA championship 2024?
Biased sample.
Because I'm a big Boston sports guy and I like Boston teams a lot, including the Patriots. Yeah. Okay, so it seems Dallas Mavericks. Oh, no way. Okay, so it's 50-50. Yeah. Okay. Boston's up, so that's cool. But yeah. Anyways, hope Boston wins the championship and banner 18. Let's see. So, I'm Ajay Vaidya. I work in this building. I'm a data analyst in the University of Akron. Little bit about me. Some of you may know, but some of you may not. I will just give like a brief introduction about myself. I did my MS in data analytics from Northeastern University, Boston. I got a job in a healthcare startup immediately after graduating, but still was looking at other opportunities. Found this job, and yeah, here I am. I also did my MBA from Scranton, Pennsylvania. And the reason behind I thought about moving from non-technical background to technical is just because having technical knowledge is really important, and at work it really helps me streamline the process, make things easy, not just for me but for my team as well. So here we go, analyzing Boston Celtics basketball data using R. This is the agenda of my presentation. Of course I will be showing my analysis, but I would like to start with a little bit about what exactly is sports analytics, the history, key areas of sports analytics, the power of sports analytics, ethical consideration, because data governance, data ethics are really important right now, and being into data, it's important, even not just in higher education, but data wherever you use, even sports data. So yeah, let's start with sports analytics. What exactly is sports analytics? These are the four main components why we can use, why sports analytics is important in sports. Data-driven decision making, injury prevention, performance optimization, and fan engagement. I think this is important because the data-driven decision making, because it will help the coach and also the player development team just to analyze how we can strategize, what are the different trends, game strategy for regular season, playoff, and the finals. The second one is injury prevention. I think that is very important because NBA is very a long season and most players are injury prone. So for instance, I will take Jason Tatum. He's playing a lot of minutes, so the coach should decide if Celtics have already they are into the playoff, maybe they can reduce his minutes or maybe give him a day off. That can help him, and there are no injuries in the future. I think this is very important because Kristaps Porzingis is injured, so he didn't play that whole playoff. he said he would be playing tomorrow. So I think they made a really good strategy about giving him that rest. I think performance optimization, that is also important about, again, as I mentioned, training, rehab, in-game performance, different trends that can help the coach, how each player is doing, not just the main players, but also the bench players, how we can promote them, and fan engagement. I think this is a very important topic right now because there are people are very enthusiastic and people are fanatic about sports in general and they like about sports. So identifying the behaviors of the player, of the fan engagement, whether people are coming during weekends the most, maybe during the weekday, what games or what teams versus what teams people are coming in. For instance, Cleveland versus, if there's a game between Cleveland versus Celtics, if on a weekday, it's on a Wednesday, people will show up a lot. But if it's Cleveland versus any other team, maybe on a weekday, not many people will show up. So how we can engage the fan data will be really useful. I thought about adding this fan engagement because I was talking to one of the person who works in Cleveland Cavaliers and he told me that how he does the fan engagement one. So I think this is, all in all, sports analytics will be really helpful, and the data. History of sports analytics. You can see and read how sports analytics has evolved. I would say my introduction to sports analytics was Moneyball. When I watched that movie, it's on Netflix. If people have, I hope everyone has watched it. If not, please do watch it. It's on Netflix, and that really got me attracted to how we can use data in sports analytics. And this quote really, I really like this quote. Numbers don't lie, but sometimes whatever we predict, it's not always correct. But I think whatever the numbers we are giving, it's really important, and the analysis what we are giving, that helps, and it's almost 90 to 95% accurate whatever we are giving. And again, it's not just we are giving them any fake numbers or something. We have a reasoning, we have an analysis about why these numbers are helpful. Key areas of sports analytics. I'm not going to go too much deeper into this particular thing, but you can see player evaluation, team strategy, again, fan engagement, injury prevention. Already talked about this, but I think all these components are very important, not just for the coach, but also for his staff, about how sports analytics has evolved and how it is important that they should analyze data. So most of the teams here, not just basketball, but different sports around the world. For instance, even in India, cricket is very popular. Even there, we use data to see how we can identify the different patterns, the trends. But the power of sports analytics. These are the four main components about how sports analytics is important. I'm really interested in predicting the player performance and also giving real-time insights about how it is. I don't know about how to automate scouting and recruitment, because still there are 10 people sitting in one room and there are scouts, but I don't know how we can automate that, but still it is important. Me being a data analyst, I really want to predict the wins, the losses, what's the percentages about a particular team going into the playoff, win an NBA championship. So I'm really interested into the predictive analytics part. I think this is very important about ethical consideration, because data governance is very important. We cannot just sell the data, because right now there are a lot of things that are happening here, not just in the US but all over the world, that people are taking the data and giving it away to make money. So data ethics, data privacy is very important. And also, as I said, the last point, player welfare and the exploitation. The use of analytics to optimize player performance and decision making could lead to the exploitation of the athletes, prioritizing winning over their well-being. Winning is important, but again, at the end of the day, these players are human beings. They one day off in a particular game, it cannot be, that person cannot be a bad player. Things happen, we mess up, but again, the next day, we move on and see how it is. So I think uh, data privacy, data governance should be the key factor when doing the data analytics. So now I will start with about my data, how I'm pulling the data, doing the data analysis. These are the two sources, basketballreference.com, and there are ton of libraries available in R to do it, but I'm using the basketballreference.com, and I will just show you a quick thing about what this particular website is and how you can pull up not just basketball but different. What was that? Sorry about that, but this is the website that I'm pulling the data. My next session will be more of pulling the data from the R library and doing the data analysis, but for starters I thought about using this particular website. As I said, you can pull different sports, and then it shows a different roster, what it is. It will show you who's the coach, the assistant staff, and you can get the data about per game totals. I got the totals, so you can export the data. There is a tutorial about how you can extract the data, what it is, and I think the glossary section really helped me, because of course I know basketball, but there are a lot of acronyms here, what each acronym stands for, the meaning of that. This is more like a data dictionary thing, so I think this is very important. And to know what each things stand for, like the rank, age, field goal percentage, what's a 2P and DRB, defensive rebounds, assist, block, personal foul. Yeah, it's important to know about all these things. So that's how I'm pulling the data, and that's how I got the data. And this is like a data dictionary that. So yeah, let's start with the analysis part. As I said, I'm here looking at what are the top points, who are the top players who are scoring the most points in Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum is scoring really well. Jaylen Brown followed by all the top 10 players. There are different, maybe 20 players or so, but I'm just focusing on this, maybe top 10 players. And again, Jason Tatum is scoring more points, no surprise. And Jaylen Brown, I think, is the most underrated player, and sometimes he gets shadowed because of Jason Tatum, but it is what it is. And these are the things where, who are the top players and how the coach can see that how each player is performing per game. I will need a little bit help from you guys about relationship between points and minutes played. Sometimes when I'm analyzing some things, it's just difficult to interpret. So I think this was very important about between points and minutes played. No surprise if a player is scoring, if a player is playing more minutes, it's natural that he will score more points. So these are the players, are the top players of the Celtics, but the bottom ones are the bench players. And as I said, they are not getting more minutes, or maybe even they are not even playing. That's the reason that they're scoring maybe 0 points or maybe few points. So I think this is I think this is a good graph just to show for the coach that even give a chance to the bench player sometimes to play. This one is the youngest and the oldest player in Boston Celtics. I think this is very important just to see like a summary statistics about Jordan Walsh is 19 years old. He is the youngest player in the Celtics. And I thought Jason Tatum is 30 years old, but he's just 26. Jaylen Brown is 27. And this guy, I think he turned 38 this year. And he's still playing at a great level, all Horford. So I think this histogram can show that most of the players in basketball are between the age of 20 to 25. That's how it is. There are just few players who are maybe beyond the age of 37, 38 and play at this level. Yeah. Correlation between 3 points and 2 points. I hope I interpret it correctly, but if not, just let me know. It's 73% correlate, 73%, so it's positively correlated, and it doesn't matter whether a player is scoring maybe a 3-pointer or a 2-pointer. Of course, 3-point will really help, but of course, if the player is scoring 2-point, that's fine as well. And I think this graph can also help the team that it's not always necessary to always score 3-pointer. Maybe one 2-pointer can help, and at least an attempt. That scoring is important, and having that 2 points or even 3 is also important. So it's 73% here. I thought this one will be like an interesting to show the correlationship between age and points. As I said, most of the basketball players are between the age of 20 to say 28, so they are scoring more. You can see here, but this guy, this is Horford. He is 37, 38 years old. He's scoring less, but that doesn't matter because Celtics has young players. They have a young group, and it's 38%. So I would say, it's a good number. So I think age definitely plays an important factor, because if you're young, the chances are you will be scoring more points, given that the coach is giving you more minutes. Who makes the most foul here? It's of course Jaylen Brown, but I know in the graph it's 1733 and all that. Maybe I have to look at the code or something, but I know for a fact that Jaylen Brown makes the most foul. I don't know why Jason Tatum is here, but is showing on second. But nevertheless, the two Jays are making most fouls for the Celtics. Again, no surprise, because they are getting more minutes. They are playing each and every game. So the coach should tell, by looking at this particular graph, the coach should tell that after having 4 or 5 fouls, that the player should calm down a little bit, cool down, and just tell them that you're making most foul. Don't foul out, because we need you in the game. If not, it will be a big trouble for us. Most minutes per game. Again, coming back to my other slide that I showed you, if a player is playing say 1733 minutes, say Jaylen Brown, Derek White, all these, Drew Holiday, they are playing so many minutes that they can be injury prone. And if Celtics are going to the finals, we need all these top 5 players. So it's better to give them rest. And by looking at this particular graph, the coach can say maybe instead of playing them 30 minutes, 35 minutes, just play them say 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and give other player a chance to try. Correlation between the games and the personal fouls. Again, no surprise, 92%. If a player is playing more games, the chances are that the player is going to create more personal fouls. So you can see it's 92%. And I think these bench players, that's how, again, I'm coming back to this one, that giving them an opportunity or a chance to play and showcase their talent, because they're on the team, they are the bench players, but still we can use them. How we can use them, this will give an opportunity to do it. I'm coming almost to an end of my presentation because I want to get your feedback about my presentation. But here are my next steps about how I want to shape this particular session. Part 2 will be, of course, analyzing Boston Celtics, but basketball data in general. I want to create a predictive model about the wins and losses during the regular season, the percentages, playoff, and the chances of a particular team reaching the finals or the playoff. And again, create pretty and stunning visualizations in R. Excuse me. Again, there is ggplot, there are different graphs, and there are more, of course. The feedback from you will be helpful in my analysis. And the fourth thing I really want to do is like a collaboration with someone, just to have a new perspective or an idea about how I can shape this particular session, or not a session, but particular my R code or my analysis. So that's what I'm planning to do. So hopefully in the near future I will do a session about my predictive modeling or little bit advanced R. This was more like an exploratory data analysis one. If you're into books, I like to read books, physical books. Mathematics is really good book. This Pro Ball, and this book by Michael Lewis is also a good book called Moneyball. So I think if you're into sports, you like reading, and I think I really like the mathematics books because it gives like a good step-by-step linear regression, how to use logistic regression, how it is useful in not just in basketball but different sports. And yeah, let's connect. I'm pretty sure I'm connected with most of you on LinkedIn, but if not, yeah, this is my LinkedIn and my personal email. And
is that a live map?
That's a live map. So yeah, I was traveling a lot because my cousin got graduated from Middlebury College, Vermont. My parents are here. Then after that, Boston. Went to Colorado for my conference. It was a really good conference where people from higher education met each other. I had very less time, so I really used AI to create this presentation. So it worked out. It's good. Thank you all. Dad, can you turn on the lights?
Yes.
Thanks. Yes.
So I have a question, if you ever look at points per minute, because I'd be curious, you're saying oh, they should put in the bench players, right? But I was curious, how much of a hit would that take, right? If their points per minute are so much lower than one of the star players, you don't want to take that chance, right?
I think if a particular team is leading by say 15 points, 20 points or something, they can give an opportunity for they can give an opportunity for the bench players to play according to that thing I was talking about. But I also feel that in the early season, start like maybe a month or 2 or 3, I think that's an opportunity to give the bench players a chance rather than playing the star players every minute, because we need them at the playoff, the finals and everything. So yes.
predictive modeling, just
Yeah.
what I encountered when looking at the same data set myself
Yeah.
was, in terms of classification, it was hard to get very high accuracy in
Yeah.
predicting wins and losses when you're looking straight up at
Yeah.
this train. What I found very helpful was probabilities. What is
Sure.
the probability that your team's going to win versus lose? And I got much better numbers there, much more useful numbers than the sheer classification, where it was only about 60% accurate.
Sure. Good to know. I don't know if you saw this thing. I think I saw this on Instagram. It was Celtics versus Indiana Pacers. They were saying Indiana Pacers will win the first and the third games. It was 98% probability or 98% that they are going to win. But all of a sudden, Celtics just came back and they got the first and the third. It was a clean sweep. But I don't know if you saw that it was on X, aka Twitter as well, that ESPN stats report, they were saying, oh, Pacers are going to win. But I mean, I agree that probability will help. I know the prediction model is hard, but I think probability will be a good thing. Yeah.
I think you run this problem too, like Basketball Reference, a lot of them, most of the metrics are all offensive metrics. Points per game,
Yeah.
registering percentage, 3-pointers, things like that. Of course, the game is on both sides, right? I don't know if there's a good source for defense, how many people incorporate defense into a model of, I mean, you can look at, number of points you allow per game or
Yeah.
something, but that can depend on your schedule. So I just wonder, do you have an idea of the source? Would you do something with defensive statistics as well as offensive?
I think that's a good one. I will look that up because even I did not think about it, about the offense versus the defense, because Celtics being a defensive team, Celtics is a defensive team. So I think I want to look at that. So I will definitely, if I find something, we'll let you know.
I know when I watch the games, they quote a lot of metrics.
Yeah.
But I have no idea where they get the statistics of
Yeah.
fourth quarter opponent shooting efficiency.
Yeah.
How do you find this?
Yeah.
There's a secret data set that I think you give to.
Yeah. That's why I really want to meet someone who is doing all this real-time data analysis
Right.
about maybe from a guy from ESPN or whatever.
It's
who-
probably Shaq. You probably just know.
Yeah.
He can do anything.
Yeah. Aaron, you had a question.
Yeah, so you had talked about some directions that you could take this in terms of predictive modeling, and they kind of talked about some of that as well. When you think about predictive modeling, there's a lot of different responses that you can do. So you could try to generate a predictive model for the probability of making the playoffs, or the probability of winning a particular game, or there's kind of anything in that range. What to you would be the crown jewel, the most important predictive model to develop if you're going to start working on one of those?
I think the win percentages.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the first thing that
Just overall
comes
season win
on the.
percentage.
I would put that in 3 buckets.
Sure.
The first one is regular season, then the playoff, and the finals. Because NBA being, it's a big season. It's a lot of games. So just focusing on just the win percentages during the regular season doesn't make a bad team or a good team or something. So these are the 3 buckets.
Sort of an observation, piggybacking on what John said, there were several of the charts that, if I followed correctly, were total points, total minutes, those kind of things, which are interesting, but they're more descriptive of the sport, like you pointed out. I mean, obviously, if you're playing more minutes, you're scoring more points. But the age one, to John's point, if you normalize that as a points per minute and then by age, it would be interesting to see, okay, do you drop off per minutes played? Because right now the chart's telling you just that person's probably playing lighter minutes, probably for health reasons,
Yep.
to keep them from being injured. Where the other one might say, but are they in those minutes? Maybe they're outscoring a 25-year-old or something like that. So I just think additional charts where you normalize per minutes, because minutes was kind of a latent variable in a lot of those charts. The other thing, just from a visualization standpoint, because we do a lot of that in our line of work and communicating that to business users that may or may not understand visualizations. There's a couple places where the y-axis is different than what the number you see at the top. I would put a legend or something.
Sure.
Right, just to be.
Definitely.
Saw it in the book.
Yeah.
First we put the Tufty book up there.
Yep.
That kind of hurt me actually. That somebody's giving such a good book. But if you haven't read that one, that's a really great
Sure.
book for
Yeah.
the UX of that.
Definitely. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. My question is a little bit different because I'm a psychology person, and I feel that when a player is playing, what matters along with other skills is mental toughness. So have you noticed relationship between, maybe one can think of relationship between age and mental toughness? That means that a player who is around between the age group of 20
Yeah.
to 25, because that is what you have said, that is the average age. So if somebody is between 20 to 25 and that during that particular age bracket, mental toughness is high, you can think in that way as well. Or when you are, second thing is, when you are talking about three brackets, first
Yeah.
round, second round, and third round, is it possible for you to do the analysis that some players may be doing well, performing well in the initial
Yeah.
part, but they may not be performing in between, and then in the third final
Yeah.
rounds they may be performing. So why this is happening? So some part may be related with their physical ability, stamina,
Yeah.
or psychological variables. Is it possible for you to do analysis using art? Because
Yeah.
as a psychology person, I think more of thinking in terms of primary data, looking at those psychological variables. But if you can put together these two, I think you will get very interesting results.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I can look into that. The problem is like mental toughness data, sports. That's a little bit hard, right? I mean, how I can correlate or just find a comparison between these two variables.
Following up on that, like, can you get more granular? I know it's like free, so it's probably not the best, but like
Yeah.
granular by game. She said like later in the season.
Yeah.
It'd also be really cool to like by minute. You could have like when they're scoring. It's like okay, at the end of the game,
Yeah.
you lost it.
Exactly.
Or if it's the last game of the series, like game sevens or whatever. Also, it'd be cool because like who else is on the field? This would get you defense too. Like how many minutes do you score per game when you have these other players on the field with you and that sort of thing. That would really open up a lot of analysis. But I assume that at that point you have to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, back in Michael Jordan's era, he once played a finals against a guy named Gary Payton, who was maybe the best defensive player, one of the best ever. For whatever reason, they didn't play it early in the series, but when they switched and had Gary Payton guard him, it was 10 points per game difference
Wow. Yeah.
with Payton guarding him, and it's like, why did you do this all the time? But it's it becomes always like it can be so rich with the data. There's so many variables, right? It's like how it must be a challenge to find the appropriate one.
Yeah.
Because even just this one table, right? There's 20 columns.
Yeah.
And this is a fraction of what people are recording
Yeah.
now, right? How do you really find the most significant variables to determine
Yep.
the outcome?
Correct. I also just one sec before I go talk to you. Like when I was making this presentation, what are the different variables are useful? Even it's a exploratory data analysis. What will be like an interesting variable to do the correlation? It was hard. It was challenging, I would say. Yeah, people think data analysis is easy, or you just pick up the variables, do it. But when you play with the data, it's what variables to choose, what are significant, what the audience will like it, or forget about the audience. If you guys are the basketball coaches here, what are the significant variables to choose from? So, yes.
One thing I think might be interesting if I was a Celtics player, Celtics coach, would be lineup analysis.
Yeah.
Looking right now at that position estimate, but
Good one.
let's say, for example, does the team play better when Jason Tatum's at small forward or power forward?
Good
Does
point.
he do better, but the team does worse, for example?
That's a good idea. Yeah. Yes. Granny.
My name is Grandma. I have a point to say something about it. This presentation made me very nostalgic because when I was in school, I used to represent my college for basketball. So I am always interested in basketball game. And I their reactions and all make me so vivacious and happy that this game is really making the world so nice and peaceful. And again, I would like to say that my perspective of watching the basketball game would be totally different from what the presentation I heard from them. And it was really very nice from a very different perspective.
Thank you.
I'll be watching the basketball game. Tatum is my favorite basketball player.
Player, yeah.
And I watch him very closely.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ajay, for this presentation.
Thank you. Yes. Go now.
I'm just pointing
Okay,
out.
okay. Yeah.
I have one more question,
Yeah.
and maybe you tell us like, but does a team win? Is it correlated with like if you add up the individual player statistics versus actually like
Yeah.
an end team success, right? Did you ever really think of studies like, well, I've got statistically strong players. Does that translate into team success and at what rate? I mean, people tend to pay a lot for stars.
Yes.
But does like having a really high paid, high performing
Yeah.
individual, I mean, this year, of course, Luka is like a great player, but others like him, how much does individual player statistics and success translate into team wins
Winning. Yeah.
at the end of the year?
I think if a team is recruiting a star player, he has a high expectations on his head that he needs to perform. So I'm pretty sure that every game he will perform. But again, there will be situations where, as I said in my presentation, he will have an off day in the office. He will not play well. So again, that pressure, that mental toughness, that one game or a two game doesn't make him a bad player. So again, the one point that I want to say that star player is great. Having a star player is important, but sometimes even bench players will perform well as well.
Right.
Even sometimes better than even the star players at one given time. Maybe if Jason Tatum is injured, say Jordan Walsh is coming to play, and he plays really well than Tatum. Tatum is playing 25 minutes, scoring maybe 10 points, but Jordan Walsh is playing just 15 minutes and scoring 15 points. So again, it's I think coming to the coach and his staff that whether they want to give a chance to other players, even the bench players, to play and perform. Because if they play in the regular season, they can also play in the playoff. That if they are playing well, they can also play there. But again, I would definitely not play Jordan Walsh or maybe anybody in the finals or something. Star players are where you get the experience is important. Because I don't know if I'm pretty sure you're following Celtics. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown in their maybe second or the third season when Kyrie was there, they were not that matured enough, to play. Kyrie was there, he was his senior, the experienced player. But now the maturity level with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown is pretty much has grown a lot. So I think that's how it is.
Just an observation on that, kind of contrasting to, so we've had several baseball talks through the years. Keith Warner from the Guardians recently, but also did almost 10 years ago. And it's just interesting, baseball is much more, the focus on baseball offense, it's isolated to you as a player, right? It doesn't matter who your teammates are, when you're up to bat, you're up to bat. And so there is that more individual stat performance. And I think you can sort of, as the Yankee show, buy your way, to where I think your question for basketball, I think the suggestion earlier from of the lineup analysis, right, is spot on because you see like LA, Kobe and Shaq did great together, or Miami when Dwayne and LeBron. But you can also look at plenty of examples where somebody they traded, this is going to be the last piece and everything's going to come together, and
question of, does the adding up to stats translate into wins ultimately? In basketball, unlike baseball, I mean, there's finite offense any player can generate, right? You can't get extra bats.
Yeah.
But in basketball, you could shoot every possession in theory.
Yeah.
So it's maybe a more statistically difficult game to analyze than baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with baseball, if you were to like focus most on offense, Monte Carlo sample the batters'
Right.
averages of how they do, and then impact a little bit of pitching, you'd be close.
Right.
I think basketball that would be pretty naive.
Right.
Again, coming back to your point, what you said, having star player doesn't necessarily mean that you will win the championship.
Right.
I mean, greats like LeBron James and other Michael Jordan, they are great, but having star players doesn't mean that that will necessarily lead to a championship team or something. You cannot have a team having 6 star players or whatever. There are disadvantages of having star players as well in the team. So having young players and molding them or shaping them is important, because that can help you in the future thing as well. So.
On that note, I do wonder, looking at not Boston but Dallas, when they made those trades for Gafford and PJ Washington, that
Yep.
goes so well with them. Did they do that lineup analysis? Did they say these 2 players play well when the system matches our system?
Yeah.
Could Boston maybe do something similar if in the offseason they were to make their own move?
Yeah, and I think Boston were pretty smart, I would say, making moves last season. I mean, Drew Holiday, Christoph Porzingis, and that trade. So it was fun. I really like the team right now we have. The core are there, and the support is there. So
4 All-Stars, you like that team?
yeah,
Choice.
young all stars, I would say. Both are young, and only I think Horford and Drew Holiday they are the 2.
I'm sorry, 5 All-Stars.
5, yeah.
So just maybe the last question is, like, do you have a prediction for the series? I know you said Boston, but it's 7-game series. Like, do you have a prediction of the duration?
I think I don't want to comment on that, but I would say
It's your title.
Boston
Come
4.
on.
That's
I think it will maybe go till 7, and maybe Celtics will win. I think it will be a very tough, because Kyrie's playing well, Luka, they are 2 great players. What if Christoph Porzingis is injured? They will lose 1 game. So I think this will be a 7-game series, and Celtics will win. I just hope that. So we'll see. And again, even Celtics win maybe 4 or 5. Sometimes I feel there is a television rating point, because even this is all money. Media is all money. There's a billions of dollars. They need audience to watch this particular game from, not just the US, from all over the world, because basketball is a very popular sport, not just in the US but everywhere. So they need the series to go till at least 6 or 7. So.
Thanks, Ajay.
We'll see. Thank you.